esteemed warrior of the light and cherished seeker of truth, welcome immediately to the most vital battlefield of your spiritual evolution, the silent arena of your own mind and heart. May the supreme force of life be with you at this exact and crucial moment of encounter. For in the spiritual universe, there truly is no such thing as mere coincidence. You were not drawn to this message by chance. You have been guided here by a higher wisdom that demands from you an urgent comprehension, a radical clarification, and an illumination that promises to change the course of your life from this moment forward. It is time to cease believing that every difficulty is simply a twist of fate, bad luck, or an unfortunate destiny. Consider how often you have awakened with an overwhelming heaviness in your chest, a sorrow that defies explanation, an irritation that flares up from nothing, or the unmistakable feeling that your home is weighed down by a dense, suffocating energy. While many in the material world dismiss these feelings as simple depression, stress, or the result of a bad night's sleep, we must recognize them for what they often are: the undeniable signs of a persistent and perilously subtle spiritual invasion. These are the influences of disembodied beings, presences trapped in profound suffering, who seek in you the energy, the transient pleasure, or the very pain they feel they have lost or cannot attain on their own. The foundational principles of Spiritism, established by Allan Kardec, name these influences directly and without euphemism: obsessors. The greatest danger these beings pose does not lie in loud noises, visible signs, or dramatic manifestations often portrayed in popular culture, but rather in the insidious and quiet manner in which they infiltrate your life. They do not smash down your physical door. They gain entry by subtly becoming your most intimate thoughts, directly influencing your emotions, your deepest fears, and the choices that define your daily path. This trap is set with such devastating subtlety that it is often mortal to one's spiritual well-being. Gradually, the victim of this process comes to believe that all this internal mental turmoil, the persistent anguish, the chronic discouragement, the unshakable chronic fatigue, are merely intrinsic characteristics of their own personality, a flaw they must bear alone. Yet one of the greatest masters of spiritual teaching, Allan Kardec, consistently issued a stark warning that humanity still largely ignores. Spiritual obsession is, in essence, the cancer of the soul, the most destructive spiritual malady that cowardly disguises itself as generalized anxiety and unexplained fatigue. But understand this crucial truth, once and for all. You are not condemned to live forever under this dark yoke. Divine mercy, the boundless power of the universe, offers spiritual tools that form a true arsenal, capable of completely pulverizing these chains of influence. These methods are not about magical rituals, superstitious practices, or weak, fleeting sympathies. Instead, they are the very fundamentals of spiritual life that these obsessing spirits despise with all their might, because these practices completely sever the vital link of attunement, the only thread that allows them to draw near, connect, and feed upon your vital essence. You possess the innate power to radically shift your internal atmosphere, transforming yourself from a vulnerable target into an impenetrable fortress of light. 1. The power of vulnerability and attunement. Before we delve into the powerful methods themselves, we must first confront the critical truth that obsessors do not simply parachute into your life from nowhere. They are magnetically drawn to and find wide-open breaches within your own moral and emotional fragilities. Every negative emotion you cherish, every moral shortcoming you refuse to correct, acts as a warm invitation for their presence. This includes the unspent anger you feed like a pet, the self-serving pride you cultivate as a trophy, the deep-seated resentment you refuse to forgive and release, or any self-destructive addiction you repeat without cease. Each one of these emotional fissures, these areas of resistance to the higher good, functions as an open door, a welcoming reception area for a truly unwanted presence. The fundamental law of spiritual attraction, as emphasized in Kardec's teachings, is attunement through thought and feeling. These spirits cannot attach to what they are fundamentally discordant with. If their vibration is rooted in darkness, malice, and suffering, they can only see and connect with similar vibrations in your inner landscape. But here is the key to liberation. The moment you decide to slam those doors shut with spiritual violence, meaning with decisive moral resolve, When you change your intimate internal attunement in a non-negotiable and deliberate manner, they are immediately stripped of their access. They lose their power base and they are forced to retreat. Ancient spiritual wisdom consistently teaches that the less elevated spirits cannot tolerate or remain in environments where true prayer is a burning fire, where work in good deeds is active motion, and where sincere joy is genuinely cultivated. This happens because obsession, like a fungus, can only survive, thrive, and be nourished where the shadow of moral laxity and emotional disorder is present. When you actively and consciously choose to cultivate the light of virtue and good intention within your soul, the disturbing shadow-like presence instantly dissolves, much like smoke vanishes when confronted by a strong, clean wind. The methods we will now explore are the 3 spiritual practices that these negative influences despise because they break the attunement and build an insurmountable force field against any dark spiritual attack. These practices are not weak defensive rituals. They are powerful interior attitudes that build an unassailable spiritual shield. 2. The prayer that transforms, not repetition, but resonance. Within the formidable arsenal of soul protection, no resource is as devastatingly powerful against dark influence, and yet so deceptively simple, as sincere prayer. It is vital to understand that we are not referring to the hollow, parrot-like recitations, the empty, automatically repeated words of rote memory. The prayer that truly functions, the prayer that generates power and protection, is the one that explodes from the deepest core of your being, acting as a direct, unfiltered dialogue with the supreme power of God, saturated entirely with unshakable faith and absolute surrender. This is precisely why the obsessing spirits completely hate it. In the precise moment you begin to pray with true feeling, your spiritual vibration instantaneously leaps to a higher frequency. The spiritual atmosphere around you is transformed as if by fire, and the dangerous attunement with the shadow is violently shattered. Prayer in the Kardecian sense is much more than a mere request. It is a direct emission of ultra-high frequency energy. When your heart turns genuinely upward toward the divine, it unleashes waves of spiritual light that impact not only your own soul, but also every single space and person surrounding you. This powerful spiritual radiation performs a radical cleansing of the spiritual atmosphere, strengthens your mind like a disciplined muscle, and opens a clear portal for the constant and loving operation of invisible spiritual friends who work incessantly on your behalf. Think of sincere prayer as a spiritual nuclear reactor that ignites your interior flame, making it physically impossible for disturbing spirits to remain in the vicinity. Observe what happens when you switch on an extremely bright light in a room that was previously plunged into absolute darkness. The darkness does not try to argue. It does not offer resistance. It simply and immediately disappears. Such is the undeniable power of genuine, heartfelt prayer. Obsessing spirits hate this practice because they know that in its presence they lose every single inch of ground they had managed to gain. Do not make the common mistake of waiting for desperation to finally knock on your door before turning to prayer. When you practice prayer constantly, upon waking, before sleeping, and even in the micro-intervals of your day, you are actively constructing a permanent, invisible wall of protection around your entire being. This silent, consistent discipline prevents your mind from ever becoming an easy or vulnerable target for harmful influences. Moreover, prayer profoundly transforms your home. When a family unit gathers together in genuine prayer, the entire atmospheric energy is changed in a visceral, tangible way. Words of faith spoken in unity and sincerity generate a powerful vibratory field that no negative influence can endure. This explains why so many families disintegrate when they neglect the foundational value of prayer, and why so many others are spiritually reborn when they make prayer an absolute, non-negotiable habit. It is also vital to grasp that there is no such thing as a small prayer. A single short phrase spoken with the deepest sincerity has the inherent power to break chains of influence that previously seemed unbreakable. Often at the very peak of pain and despair, a single word, a heartfelt cry of the soul, "Mighty God, help me," is sufficient to tear open a rift of light and instantly attract immediate spiritual succor. And anyone who has experienced this knows, after a prayer that truly comes from the soul, There is always an immediate sense of relief, a heavy weight that seems to dissolve into the air, a profound serenity that settles in like a soothing balm. This is not imagination, it is an immediate spiritual attunement. Your previously restless heart finds profound repose, your previously confused mind gains crystal clarity, and the atmosphere that was heavy becomes flooded with an unprecedented lightness. This is the first method they despise, the prayer that originates from the depths of the soul. They detest it because it permanently seals the door of negative attunement and flings open the windows of a higher, luminous dimension. When you pray, you do not just ask. You align yourself with the highest good, creating a frequency where the shadow literally has no means and no right to remain. 3. The active service in good deeds, a consuming flame. If sincere prayer acts to burn away the impurities of the soul, then active engagement in good deeds is the aggressive spiritual movement that expels all forms of darkness with full and decisive force. Obsessing spirits automatically recoil and deeply hate it when an individual makes the conscious decision to serve others, because they profoundly understand that true charity is not merely a donation of goods. It is a powerful, consuming flame that immediately incinerates the residue of pain and despair, illuminating with overwhelming force both the one who gives aid and the one who receives the comfort. As long as your mind remains stagnant, perpetually closed in on itself, revolving only around your personal problems and grievances, you remain an easy target for destructive thoughts and influences. But the very moment your heart opens itself to support, to console, to guide, or simply to offer a genuine smile of kindness, you initiate a potent circulation of spiritual energy that leaves absolutely no available space for darkness to settle in. Good practiced consistently is like a continuous flowing stream of pure water. Clean water in constant motion can never be contaminated by stagnant shadows. This is why you feel an inexplicable lightness, a surge of pure energy after performing an act of pure love. Anyone who has wiped away tears or genuinely extended a hand to a person in need knows that the spiritual strengthening is not only for the other person. You too are simultaneously renewed. You too are spiritually shielded. This energetic exchange is a profound source of torment for obsessors because they simply cannot endure environments where solidarity, altruism, and active kindness reign supreme. Engaging in good deeds does not require you to undertake grand, monumental philanthropic works, nor does it demand that you become a saint overnight. It begins in the small yet incredibly powerful actions of your daily routine, a single word of genuine encouragement that lifts a fallen spirit, a sincere embrace that breaks emotional coldness, a simple glass of water offered with pure intention, or a visit to someone who feels forgotten by the world. These are simple acts that, because they carry the pure spiritual magnetism of fraternity and pure intention, completely alter the atmospheres around you. The individual who dedicates themselves to this practice constantly builds a natural defense around themselves, a kind of powerful, vibrating shield. This occurs because dark forces can only successfully approach and fixate upon those who actively vibrate in chronic resentment, self-serving egoism, or paralyzing indifference to the suffering of others. When your life becomes filled with the irrepressible habit of serving, the obsessors are unable to find any compatible, familiar emotional frequency to fixate upon. Another brutal dimension of work in good deeds is that it forcefully tears the focus away from your own ego and casts it decisively toward the collective good, toward the concept of us. So many spiritual torments are fed by that vicious cycle of repetitive thoughts focused exclusively on your own problems, effectively transforming your life into a spiritual black hole. By actively helping someone else, you immediately break this restrictive cycle and dramatically expand your worldview. This simple mental shift by itself constitutes a highly efficient barrier of protection against negative influences. It is crucial to remember here, in the words of Kardecian thought, that charity without humility is mere vanity. The practice of doing good is not about displaying personal virtue or seeking recognition, but about recognizing that all of us are beings in a state of learning, universally requiring mutual support and active solidarity. This spirit of genuine humility naturally expels pride, which remains one of the widest and most frequently utilized doors by obsessing spirits to gain entry. Think also about your home environment. A family that chooses to cultivate daily gestures of pure kindness among its members that practices immediate forgiveness, and that chooses constructive dialogue over confrontation, creates an atmosphere that is literally impenetrable. Respect, patience, and kind communication erect invisible spiritual walls that disturbing spirits dare not attempt to cross. Numerous spiritual accounts indicate that, at the peak of spiritual disorder, it was the conscious decision to look beyond oneself and actively serve others that fully restored peace and spiritual balance. By stopping the self-centered introspection and simply extending a hand, the person discovers an inner strength they never knew they possessed. A discovery that is pure terror for obsessors who feed on your spiritual stagnation. When they encounter the constant, active movement of love in action, they completely lose their field of operation. Work in good deeds is, therefore, the second method they despise, not only because it protects the one practicing it, but also because it unleashes a network of light that actively expands to benefit everyone around them. Every single act of kindness, no matter how small, has an invisible and far-reaching spiritual effect, and this reach is often what finally dissolves dark influences that may have been attempting to fixate for years on end. 4. The discipline of thought, the mind as a fortress. If prayer elevates your spirit and active work in good deeds mobilizes your life toward external altruism, then the discipline of your thoughts is the bedrock that maintains your entire spiritual force field in absolute and total equilibrium. Obsessors detest it when an individual learns to vigilantly guard their own mind like an elite sentinel, because it is precisely in your mental carelessness, your lack of inner vigilance, that they find the most dangerous and accessible breaches to infiltrate and settle. Every idea you consciously nourish is a seed of immense power. Some of these seeds germinate into deep peace, unwavering hope, and absolute trust. Others, however, flourish into destructive resentment, corrosive envy, and paralyzing fear. The mental field is incredibly fertile, and what you choose to cultivate ultimately determines your spiritual harvest and the very quality of your life experience. Disturbing spirits, as taught by Kardec, create absolutely nothing new. They merely exploit, amplify, and desperately try to inflate the existing negative garbage already present within your own mind. Consequently, when they encounter an undisciplined and unguided mind, they can easily manipulate, amplify, and gain control over your pre-existing negative emotions. But the very instant you resolve to monitor your mind with rigorous discipline, the spiritual game completely changes. Mental discipline does not mean you will never feel anger or sadness again. It means you will become fully capable of noticing when those destructive emotions first arise and consciously choose not to feed them. It is at this critical juncture that the obsessor loses all room for spiritual maneuver. They require continuity. They need your mind to accept and agree with the script of pain and negativity they are presenting to you. Without this conscious adherence, their influence immediately and completely exhausts itself. Think about how often you catch yourself repeating destructive phrases in the silence of your head, such as, "I am not good enough," "I am a total failure," or "nothing ever works out for me." These internal, unvoiced words open up express spiritual pathways for the heaviest and most detrimental vibrations. But when discipline activates, you transform this intimate inner talk into a source of power. "I am learning. I deserve a fresh start. The light is with me." This simple transmutation fundamentally alters your entire mental pattern and generates an instantaneous, powerful, natural defense. Obsessors utterly hate this attitude because they rely entirely on your inattention, your spiritual drowsiness. As long as your mind is scattered, surrendered to automatic and empty thoughts, they are nourished. But when there is relentless, conscious vigilance, every single idea is filtered, and only what truly constructs and builds finds space to remain. This discipline, therefore, must be a constant daily exercise. It begins in your micro-choices, what you choose to read, the content you consume watching, the conversations you maintain, and the physical environments you allow yourself to frequent. All of this acts as fuel that deeply influences your mental field. A disciplined mind actively avoids noise and the overflow of toxic information, constantly seeking out what spiritually elevates it, whether through an inspiring reading, a calming piece of music, or a period of profound, silent reflection. 5. Conscious choice over automatic reaction. The mastery of thought discipline is the conscious choice to veto automatic, negative reactions and replace them with deliberate, constructive ones. This is the difference between being a victim of circumstance and becoming the conscious architect of your internal state. Obsessors thrive on the emotional rerun, the endless loop of old grievances, past traumas, and anticipated fears. When you refuse to press the play button on that destructive emotional tape, when you actively interrupt the pattern, you dismantle their access point. The key is to cultivate mental sobriety. This means not allowing external events, a rude comment, a disappointment, an unexpected setback, to immediately commandeer the steering wheel of your inner world. Instead, you create a necessary pause, a buffer zone between the stimulus and your response. This brief moment of stillness is where your true spiritual power resides, for it allows you to invoke higher principles of patience, understanding, and faith, rather than descending into the lower vibrations of impatience, judgment, or fear. The obsessors depend on the element of surprise and the speed of your emotional reaction. When you introduce slowness and awareness into your mental process, you effectively render their tactics useless. This practice is not about rigid emotional suppression, but about spiritual education, training your emotional landscape to resonate with light and wisdom, transforming a vulnerable mind into an impregnable fortress. A mind that is undisciplined remains an open field, a spiritual vulnerability. A mind that is educated and constantly alert is an unassailable stronghold, and this is the third method that dark influences abhor, the total vigilance of thought, because it triple locks the doors of the soul and prevents any negative vibration from finding even the smallest space to take shelter. When you learn to rigorously choose what you think and to consistently sustain elevated, luminous ideas, you create an internal atmosphere so clear and powerful that no shadow has the slightest chance of resisting its radiance. 6. The indispensable union, the tripod of protection. It is crucial to repeat this fundamental truth so that you never forget it. Sincere prayer, active work in good deeds, and the discipline of thoughts. These are three methods that appear simple in their description, but are radically powerful in their effect, completely disarming obsessors and injecting enormous spiritual power into your spirit. Their power does not stem from a brute force intended to keep the shadow out, but rather from their ability to construct a sacred space within you where only the purest light can and is able to remain. Upon absorbing the depth of each of these three methods, you might be tempted to view them as isolated tools, three separate paths you can follow independently. But the liberating truth is that prayer from the heart, active service to others, and mental vigilance form an inseparable tripod, a complete spiritual defense system. Together, they create a spiritual fortress that holds the transformative power to change not only your own life, but also every environment and person you move within. Prayer alone, no matter how much it elevates the soul, runs the risk of dissolving into the wind if it is not immediately accompanied by concrete action. How many individuals cry out in prayer for peace, yet continue to sow discord and judgment through their attitudes and words? It is precisely here that work in good deeds enters as the absolutely necessary complement, transforming the static, internalized energy of prayer into visible, concrete, and moving spiritual action. Similarly, the discipline of your thoughts acts as the essential pillar that sustains and protects everything you have managed to conquer spiritually. Anyone who prays and acts but fails to vigilantly monitor their own mind is leaving wide open breaches for the shadow to find its way back in. Your true spiritual equilibrium is born at the exact point where prayer nourishes your heart, charity actively moves your life outside of the confines of the ego, and vigilance continuously protects your consciousness from external and internal negative assault. The obsessors universally hate this seamless union because it generates a vibration that is so stable and powerful that there are no fissures, no moral flaws that they can possibly exploit for access. The person who truly prays, who serves actively, and who vigilantly monitors every one of their thoughts, constructs within themselves a magnetic field with prohibited access. It is like a house that is brightly illuminated on all sides. The shadow cannot find even a single corner in which to settle. 7. The unfolding of visible blessings. The deliberate integration of these three foundational practices yields clear, visible, and tangible results in your daily life. Prayer immediately ignites inner peace, Active work in good deeds returns to you the non-negotiable joy of living, and mental discipline guarantees your enduring serenity even when you find yourself caught in the midst of the greatest life storms. Gradually, your life begins to reorganize itself in what can only be described as a miraculous fashion. Conflicts and family discussions that were once constant and consuming begin to lose all their emotional force. Persistent emotional pain and long-standing psychological suffering drastically alleviate, and even your physical health often benefits directly from this profound spiritual realignment. This occurs because your physical body and your spirit are deeply and intrinsically interconnected. When your spiritual field harmonizes and is actively protected, your material body responds immediately and positively. And here is an extremely important point of emphasis. These three methods serve not only to drive away disembodied obsessors, but they also effectively neutralize the toxic and subtle influences that can emanate from living, embodied people. All of us, to a greater or lesser degree, constantly emit vibrations. Overly charged environments, persistently unhealthy relationships, and destructive conversations can functionally operate as temporary, yet highly damaging obsessions, essentially psychic attacks that drain your vital energy. The person who consistently cultivates prayer, charity, and vigilance is thereby creating a powerful natural filter, effectively protecting themselves even from these common, everyday, and exhausting influences. Their internal fortress makes them non-reactive and spiritually immune to the passing negativity of others. Thus, we conclude this deep exploration into the essential practices that ensure your spiritual sovereignty. May the peace of Christ envelop your mind. May divine serenity calm your restless heart, and may your life from this day forward serve as an undeniable testament to the unstoppable force of sincere prayer, active good deeds, and inner discipline. He who walks securely upon these three fundamental pillars fears no spiritual influence, bends to no shadow, and never loses himself in the uncertainties of life. You have been called and eternally destined to be a source of light, and when that light truly and powerfully shines, absolutely no darkness can sustain itself in its presence. So it is, and so it shall be.